All right, so what's going on, everybody? I hope everybody's having a good day despite what's going on around the nation. I just wanted to remind you to subscribe to my channel and to stay up to date with everything that's been going on. Click the little bell to right next to the subscribe button to get notified every time a video gets posted. Okay, so today I have Dr. Elizabeth Cortez, who is a psychotherapist right here in McAllen, Texas. And I wanted to get you on the podcast because this is definitely an uncertain time for a lot of people. I mean, the state just shut down restaurants and bars, and it's put a stop to large gatherings over 10 people. And that's going to leave a lot of people without income, and they're in fear. Like, honestly, they're in fear. I talked to a lot of business owners, and you can hear the fear in their voice, right? So I wanted to get you on and kind of figure out how people can cope with this stress at this time. So I guess go ahead and introduce yourself.
So I'm Elizabeth Cortez. I'm a psychotherapist here in McAllen. I have my private practice. I've been in private practice for about 10 years, but I have a little over 20 years experience. That makes me sound old, but so I do psychotherapy. I usually see adolescents and adults. My specialty is anxiety and depression, which includes stress, of course. And so, yeah, that's what I do.
Well, it's great to have you on the podcast. Thank you for your time, of course, especially during this time that we need any help we can possibly get, right?
Yes. And that's what I've been telling everyone. I've been trying to do my part and kind of help my friends and family minimize their stress. But since then, I've kind of opened up my Instagram to the public so they can go on there and just kind of learn different skills and different coping mechanisms too.
So where's your
to
Instagram?
Cope with all this.
How can they find you on Instagram?
So I'm on Lisa Psychology, or I just opened up a new Instagram. It's Therapy on the Go Live, and so I did that so more people can go on there and listen to me and teach them different techniques to use to minimize their stress. So yeah, they're welcome to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how can we minimize stress during this time? I guess is the $1 million question.
Yeah. So I want to first talk about how stress kind of depresses your immune system. So when we're under a lot of stress, we create a hormone. Our body creates a hormone called cortisol. And so this hormone minimizes our immune system or suppresses our immune system. So when we're under a lot of stress, it's easier for us to get sick. It's harder for us to recover. And so that's why it's super, super important for them to minimize their stress right now. And I know it's super hard because, like you said, it's, everyone is unsure of what's going to happen. But the important thing to know is that there's ways to minimize stress and to things that you can do every day on a daily basis to just kind of, stay calm and not be so anxious about all this. Another thing is our kids, our kids mimic our behavior. And so if we're super stressed out and we're worried and we're, telling our husbands, oh my God, what's going to happen? Or we're not going to have food, or talking about all this stuff is stressing them out too. That's one of the things that I keep telling people, we're, the adults that our children are with every day. And so they see our behavior and they can mimic that behavior. And we don't want that for the kids. We want them to be secure and safe and stress-free.
Yeah, you definitely hit the head on the nail on the head, because when I talk to my daughter, she's going to be 10, right? So when I talk to her, I'm kind of like, you don't understand what's going on and you don't get this. And of course she's hearing other hearsay and seeing like, well, I saw this on the news and I saw this on the news.
Yeah.
And she's like, I was like, you don't know, like you really don't know. So it's like trying to have a conversation with a 10-year-old that they don't understand. It's kind of difficult, especially for parents that have never navigated anything like this before.
Through this. Yeah, we haven't. You're right.
So,
it is difficult.
How do we talk to them?
It's different for different age kids from different age the teenagers can understand a little bit more. With kids, there are a lot of kids that worry and they see us, like I said. The one thing you can do is validate their fear, validate their feelings, ask them how they're feeling. And so if they're like, no, we can go outside and it's okay, nothing's wrong, to them about what the CDC is asking you to do, what we can do. For the kids that are being, that are anxious and worried and you see that they're fearful, ask them how they're feeling. And so a lot of times us as parents, the first thing we do when they're worried or anything happens, we always tell them, don't worry, it's going to be fine. Right. Nothing's going to happen, which we want to do. We want to, kind of reassure them. But doing that and doing that alone actually puts more fear in them. It's kind of like, usually I try to explain to parents and I want them to, kind of put them in the kids' shoes. So let's say your child goes to school and something happens at school and, an intruder went in and they call you and they say, pick up your kids. We had an emergency. We had this, horrible thing that happened in their school. And so that's on a Friday. The weekend passes. You don't get an email from the principal. On Monday, you're ready to go take your child back. You go and you ask the principal, well, what are you doing different? How did you fix this problem? What did you do? What did you implement? And so let's say that the principal tells you, don't worry about it. They'll be fine. Just leave them here. They'll be fine.
Right.
Are you going to be okay with that?
Definitely
Leaving
not.
your child there? Definitely not. And so that's how the child feels when you tell them that. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. And you can say that to them after you ask them how they're feeling. So let's say the principal tells you, what is your worry, Mr. Morales? And so you say, you know what? Well, I see that you don't have a gate. I see that anyone can just walk into my child's school. I see that you don't have a lock on the door. And so she brings you into the school and tells you, look, we actually build a wall or a gate, this weekend. We actually build another door that's locked. And so now we have 2 doors that are locked. And we hired a security guard and they'll be in the front office, stopping every guest, every visitor. How would you feel?
I feel way better.
Way better. And so that's what you need to do with your child. Validate their feelings. Ask them what are you thinking? What are you worried about? And so if a child is worried right now, I guarantee you, because of some of my kids, that some of my patients that I've been asking, if they're worried about the elderly people in their families. And so let's say they tell you, well, I'm worried about grandma and grandpa. I'm worried that, I'm listening to the news and, hearing that the older people are getting sick and, and they're the ones that are more at risk. So have a plan. And most people do. I mean, I think maybe you do too, but most people right now are helping the elderly in their family. You know what? Stay home. If you need any groceries, we'll go out and get those. And so have a plan. If you don't have a plan, talk to your child. Well, what should we do? What do you think would make you feel better? And so if they say, you know what, maybe can we call grandma and grandpa every day and make sure they're at home? Yes. You know what? Let's FaceTime them every day. So they'll tell you what they want. So just to listen, validate their feelings, ask them what they're worried about, and have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, create a plan with them. And that guarantee you that's going to help them feel a lot better about all this craziness that's going on.
So how can we minimize stress, not only for them, but for the parents, for the grandparents, for anybody, I guess?
Yeah. So the one thing that I feel people need to do, especially the ones that are at home and not leaving, is try to create as much normal as possible. Get up, get dressed, go outside. Deep breathing is amazing. And I mean, I have a lot of patients that come in and I tell them, we're going to do deep breathing and we're going to do guided imagery and meditation. And a lot of times they look at me like, yeah, right. Is that going to work? And by the end of the session, when we do deep breathing and guided imagery and we relax, they're like, oh my goodness, I've never felt so relaxed in my life. And so deep breathing, just breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, practicing deep breathing, going outside, breathing in fresh air. You can still go outside, go to the backyard, go to your front yard,
And also
drive around.
parks you can go to as well.
Parks, yes. And so that's another thing that I was going to say. My daughter and my husband went yesterday to the park. It was empty. And so they walked the dogs around and they had fun, and breathing in fresh air is very helpful for your immune system too. So that's, one thing that you can do. Exercise is another thing that, helps us minimize that cortisol level and just kind of de-stress, and we let all the tension out. Stretching is another thing. That's what I did last night on my Instagram. Is I taught some of the stretches that I know help with the tension around your neck. Guided imagery is something that I do too, and it's just kind of guiding your body to learn how to relax. And so I create kind of like an image in my patient's mind, and then I each body part kind of try to minimize their stress level and their tension.
So let's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So let's talk about how stress affects the immune system, because I am a stress eater. I think I got to thank my dad for that. But yeah, I am a stress eater, and I'm finding myself eat a little bit more. And since we're in the house, we have all this food that we're getting, and we have nothing else to do. So an option is to go out, exercise, go to the park. But let's talk about how stress affects the immune system.
So when we stress a lot, our body creates cortisol. And cortisol is a hormone. It's a natural hormone that we all have. But the more stress that we have, the more of that hormone we create. And so that is the hormone that suppresses the immune system. And so it's really hard for us to fight infections, and it's a lot easier for us to get sick and any illness. It's hard for us to fight off infections and illnesses when we create that hormone, cortisol. And so that's it's scientifically proven that cortisol affects our immune system. It also the production of cortisol is in the adrenal gland, and that's part of where we create all the stress and that hormone.
So with everything that we've talked about, in your professional opinion, should we be panicking?
We should be cautious, and we should be doing everything that the CDC is asking us to do. If you can stay home, stay home. I think everyone is kind of not clueless, but everyone is, we've never been through this. And so this is new to everyone, whether it's the government, the CDC, WHO, doctors, it's new. And so it's kind of hard to not panic when everyone is doing this for the first time.
Right.
But like I said, the more we panic, what's going to happen? If we panic, is that going to save us? Right. Or are we going to create this, with panic and anxiety? The more panic I have, I'm going to create a cure for this. We're not. And so the best thing to do is not panic, but follow what the CDC is asking us to do. If, a lot of people I know can't stay home, and it's hard, it's going to be hard financially, and it's going to stress a lot of people out. Even if you do have, savings, we don't know how long this is going to last and how long we're going to have to be home, and, social distancing and closing restaurants. And so it's going to affect everyone.
It's a very, very interesting time.
Yeah,
to say the least.
I agree.
And everybody's saying that the media is to blame for it being so blown out of proportion. But in my opinion, being from the media world, I think that literally
we need to know.
Yeah, being blown out of proportion has literally saved millions of lives when you compare the coronavirus to other pandemics that we've had in the past.
Yes, I agree completely. I think we need to know, and the more we know, the more I think people can, I think yesterday there was people in Florida at the beach partying and, nothing's going to happen. And so if you try to hide it from people, then more people are going to be out there and the spread is just going to be worse than it is. So I agree. We need to know.
So, Doctor, any other insight that you can offer us before we finish off this podcast?
Just, minimize your stress and try to do things at home that keep you busy and not eating. It's important for us to kind of have a normalcy and just, have a schedule, create a schedule with your kids, create a schedule with your wife if you don't have kids, and just kind of try to stay relaxed and calm. That's all we can do, but cautious.
But cautious, of course. All right. So I'd like to thank you, of course, coming on the podcast. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click that little bell on the right. Go ahead and plug your social media one more time so people can know where to find you.
So it's Lisa Psychology on Instagram or Therapy on the Go Live on Instagram also.
All right. Dr. Elizabeth Cortez, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.